you're in the middle of.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, BBs. It's too early.
It sure is.
Welcome to the first, best, and only morning show in existence. She's everything, and I'm just Anthony.
You know, did you see Piers Morgan respond to that?
No.
Scum of the earth, Piers Morgan.
No, but I know a lot of idiots were decided that they were gonna get mad about Ken, like they've ever thought about Ken.
Yeah.
Like bro dudes in their lives have ever once thought about Ken.
Yeah. Piers Morgan got really fucking upset about the Barbie movie, as Piers Morgan is one to do when women are around.
Sure.
That calling it reverse sexism.
Okay. All right, Piers.
That Ken doesn't have a job. That Barbie is all of these things and Ken is just Ken. And he said that it is not just an assault on Ken, but on all men.
Listen to me very carefully. If anybody out there is interested in a kept man, I'm here. I'm ready to go. I can pack my video games and be doing nothing in your house.
Yeah.
As soon as this show is over. I might leave halfway through the show.
If the right offer arises.
Come on.
Yeah.
Come on. I'll do it. Hey, listen, you know, we do want to say right off the bat here, we are excited to celebrate some things this week, but we do also want you to know that we support workers' rights here at PixelCircus.
Absolutely. We are obviously very pro-union. We are obviously standing with the strike for both the writers and the actors. I myself am an actor in the union.
And I myself have been turned down from the union for many years for not booking enough work.
So with that in mind, we were thinking about it, and obviously this was something that we were planning on coming up, and we figured, hey, well, you shouldn't have to waste all of your enthusiasm and excitement for Barbie. Barbie as a concept in itself still has much rich things, so we're just gonna go into the past of Barbie and not worry about anything else.
That's right. Welcome to Barbie Media We're Comfortable Promoting Week. There's a rich history to Barbie.
There is.
And we don't have to talk about anything that's going on with Barbie. We can just talk about things that have gone on with Barbie.
Yes.
And that's what we're going to do. Hey, support SAG-AFTRA and WGA, and remember that there are union assist sites that you can go to right now to help out striking members of unions who some of whom have already not been working for 2 months.
Yep.
And some of whom may not be working for a very long time in the foreseeable future. So if you can do anything monetarily to help, that would be wonderful.
Yeah.
Just posting that you are pro-union, just posting when you see people doing things that seem a little not pro-union, posting to let them know that that's not entirely kosher is a good way to go. One thing that I do want to say is that the union did say, don't cancel any of your subscriptions. Don't stop watching movies or TV shows. Going and watching these movies and TV shows, watching this media, does let the studios know that you enjoy the media that is made by these people. And these people are worth the money that they're asking for.
This is a labor strike, not a boycott. And there is an important difference between the two. It is important that we recognize that this is a strike against the studios and not a strike against the concept of movies, of television. But I also want to just add to one thing that you were saying.
Yeah.
When you say like, let people know if they're doing something, I want you to be real careful about that.
Yeah.
Don't go and harass people on the internet.
No, absolutely not.
Especially people that are like, actors and shit. You don't know who is in the union and what is encompassed in it. Especially like, I can say this as somebody who has been in SAG since I was 7. It's a very complicated area that has changed every year of my life. What is and what is not within the bounds of the union. You know, like a million things I can name. Obviously what we do is not covered and cannot be covered within the SAG union. But also, Power Rangers, non-union show, shoots in New Zealand. SAG can't touch there. You know what I mean? Like, there's just a million things that are like in these very interesting gray areas. And I think that a lot of people, when stuff like this happens, suddenly think that they're experts on these things.
Yes. One thing that we were going to talk about probably a little later on in the show is that there are even entire movie productions starring people that you recognize, starring movie stars that are exempt from the union strike, simply because they are made outside of the studio system, and the union is giving exemptions to those things.
Correct. Exactly what Dakota Roku said. It said, don't go on Twitter and call Critical Role scabs when you haven't taken 5 goddamn minutes to find out what the union rules are.
That's right.
Critical Role is not a scab. If Dimension 20 continues productions, they are not a scab.
Game shows, variety shows, independent internet productions are not necessarily, number one, not necessarily union. And even if they do hire union and work within the union, they're not necessarily part of the studio system. Remember that this is a strike against the AMPTP.
Yeah.
The Association of Movie and Television Production Garbage suit people. People can work with the union and not be part of that studio system, and that's what those exemptions are about. And there are entire swaths. I've seen a lot of people that are very concerned about the things that they watch, particularly from creators on the internet. And one thing that I will say is a lot of your favorite creators on the internet, even if they're particularly large creators, don't fall under the studio system and don't work within the union. Now, are there things that like it's okay to ask about? Yes. Like if you see a lot of people this week covering, reviewing movies, covering movies, talking about movies and TV in a review capacity or in a promotional capacity, that's the sort of stuff that, you know, you can look at and you can kind of go, hey, I wonder if I should look into whether this is cool. Or you can even say to yourself, you know, whether it's cool or not, I don't feel like watching that this week and I'm just not gonna. That's your own choice.
As a person within the union, I land on the side of that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I don't think it matters at all. I don't think that reviewing movies, like, we have to acknowledge what the labor we are striking is on, and that is not it.
Yeah.
So
I mean, we're not going to do any of that stuff because you're a union member.
I am a union member. Within the emails that I get from the union every day, I'm still allowed to talk about movies.
Yeah.
I am not allowed to labor for the studios, which are robbing us. That is what the strike is.
Yes.
So I can still talk about movies. That is not actually within what my union has called for, and I support my union.
Yeah, it's the production, it's the promotion of struck work is where you get into something that's like a little But here's the thing. That shit don't matter, baby, because there's so much Barbie to talk about. It's so much Barbie to talk about. I will say this, if you are interested in learning a little bit more, SAG-AFTRA does have an entire page of frequently asked questions that people have about the strike, and you can go there and you can read up on it, and it's a great way to do that. And you know, everybody, whether even if they're working on what is considered within guidelines, everybody, once again, as in every moral situation, has their own personal line.
Don't harass people.
Don't harass
the studios. People. Like, even if you're like, I think this person might be coming across in a way that is a scab to me, at least harass the studios first.
Yeah.
Don't harass workers first.
Every time you see somebody doing something that looks like maybe they're not allowed to do it, email David Zaslav to ask if it's okay. Just fill up David Zaslav's inbox with like, "Hey, David Zaslav, I saw that this was happening. Is this cool? Are they allowed to do
about this? What are you up to?
Are you
doing this?
David Zaslav, what are you doing today? Are you getting booed by more college students?"
Man, I love David Zaslav getting booed by college students. This has been making the rounds.
It came out, I think we covered this when it first happened.
Yeah, it happened a while ago.
Yeah, this was like back in May or June. It was the Boston University graduation commencement speech, like right as the WGA started striking.
Yeah.
And he was like, he gave this speech that was like, remember, be kind to everybody because you don't know who you're going to work with later on in life and blah, blah, blah. And everybody was like, fuck you.
And even people, if they're going to be difficult after they like all were like, hey, pay writers.
Shush.
Yeah, wow. Real
CEOs,
difficult crowd.
Yeah, these CEOs talking about difficult people. Boy, oh boy.
Oh boy.
Uncle Bobby Iger on that interview was like, not it. Not it at all, Bob.
No, none of the studio heads are right now.
Yeah, not it, Bob. They're making things hard.
Oh, yeah?
Oh,
is it hard for you
so
right now?
sad.
Give them money and they'll shut up.
Yeah. Listen.
Listening.
It's Barbie week, and we hate that we have to do this when we're celebrating Barbie.
Truly.
We hate that we have to bring this sort of angry energy to a Barbie celebration.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. But you know what? You know what healed a little bit of my soul?
What's that?
Playing Barbie Super Sports.
When we were deciding what to do this week, Saige went online and found a copy of a little piece of what we'll call abandonware. Legally cooled to download abandonware that you were used to from your childhood, called the Barbie Super Sports.
Now, Barbie Super Sports was my favorite Barbie game as a kid, and I'm not sure if that is because it was the only one that was on our home computer or because it was a sick fucking game, but I'm just gonna say it. It's a pretty sick fucking game.
It's a sick fucking game.
So I downloaded and I played this one.
Now, I gotta say, watching it as you were playing it, without the childhood nostalgia and emotional connection to it, I gotta say this do look like a click and play game.
No, perfect game.
I gotta say this do look a bit click and play
with complexity.
To me. I gotta say, as far as the Barbie Super Sports combo and trick system goes, I don't know.
Look at this. Look at this beautiful, perfect game.
What I do like about these Barbie games is the skeuomorphic menu systems, which we just kind of skipped past one, but we'll watch it again. But like, I mean, look at this skeuomorphic menu system. What's on the Barbie CD?
I love it.
That's the menu. This has like a click and drag to move thing going on.
Yeah, it does.
So that arrow is like the farther you get away from Barbie and the more you click, the faster Barbie goes. Well, they must be playing this on an era appropriate computer because you had way faster loading times.
Yeah, I did.
But this is
not to flex, but
this is Barbie Super Sports. Can you handle it? SSX tricky. Get fucked. Look at that.
This is not us playing it right now. We just pulled up some footage from it because y'all know it's very easy for me to get distracted during the show. You'd have lost me.
Yeah.
You'd have lost me instantly.
We don't like doing live play on the show so much because then we just play video games.
Yeah.
This is a level that you did play though, where you
I played all of them, Anthony.
where you've got to like skate around.
Yeah.
And like do sick tricks off of these octopus fountains. Yeah. Now, okay, so this game, what year did this game come out? I remember we looked into it, but it was pretty
1999.
Came out in 99. So in 99, we're talking about PS2 era. We're talking about Dreamcast era.
Yeah, we are.
This was a PC game. And I gotta say, it does say Click Entertainment, which I don't think means click and play, but it could be click and play.
I just want you to know the feeling in my heart that I had when this popped up, the feeling of nostalgia that just like is burrowed so deep in my soul of Barbie, software for girls.
Now, obviously, there was such a ton of this software. And the more we looked into it, particularly these sports ones, the more I realized how many of these games just got lumped together. They were like whole series of games that were just lumped together as a game.
Yeah.
Like, I remember Barbie Horse Adventure.
Yeah. Which Indrani also just mentioned. Hi, Indrani.
Hi, Indrani. Barbie Horse Adventure, I remember for one reason and one reason only. There was a console release, a PS2 and Xbox release of Barbie Horse Adventure, and it was a fun thing to do on video game review websites to review Barbie Horse Adventure, to dunk on Barbie Horse Adventure, to goof on it.
It's fucked up.
And it really was, because it's interesting how it was picked out. Like, hundreds of kids games came out around the same time. Yep. But there was something about like Barbie Horse Adventure where everybody was like,
what could it be?
Right. We can't figure out what it is.
Why did all the video game bros want to hate this thing in particular? Could anybody, hey, Dora the Explorer style, everybody. Do you know what the difference is between this game and the other games marketed for children? Can you tell me what it is that a bunch of gamer boys felt in particular that they needed to trash this game for?
But it's interesting because like when you think about other things like the Ubisoft style games and things like that, like they didn't get the same. Barbie Horse Adventure became the game that was the shorthand for girl games on a console that you dunk on.
Yeah.
This was the specific one.
Yeah. Well, let me just answer the question real quick. Misogyny!
Sure, but like, why not any of the other ones?
I think it's because this was the biggest fucking game for girls.
Yeah.
Here's what it is. It's the same way that we continue to do this in media. And I was talking about this actually on my stream the other night. We hate the things that girls love the most as a society. We all know that like as an economy, girls keep the fucking economy alive. Girls and women are your biggest spenders in like every fucking category in this. So they also then control a lot of pop culture. A lot of pop culture is made by what young and teenage girls love. So in the same way that there was nothing people loved to dunk and meme on more than Twilight, when Twilight happened, when this was a universally beloved game by girls, when you see every like AFAB person, every femme presenting person in our chat that like enjoyed this genre, every single one of them popped up in chat and was like, Barbie Horse Adventure. If we all have nostalgia for it, that shows the popularity of this game, and it explains why gamer boys hated it so fucking much because they won't let us just have something.
Side note, do you think that Twilight is the best baseball movie ever made?
Yes, I do.
Because I think it might be.
Yes, I do. And the best Muse music video.
Best Muse. I think, it's very interesting because Barbie Horse Adventure, so the one you're pulling up here is Mystery Ride, which I believe that's the PC CD-ROM one, right? Mystery Ride, I think, was the first one.
So this is 2003. This is a little bit later than your Super Sports.
And you like one of the things that I noticed when when I was watching footage of this one is when it starts off with logos.
Yeah.
Like this was made in the Renderware engine, which was the AAA game engine at the time. Like if you look at any big console or PC release, this is before Unreal Engine became huge. Big games were made in Renderware. And I gotta say, for 2003, this is a pretty decent game.
Yes, it is.
Like I was watching it happen, and it's a mix of mini games, adventure stuff, and then of course like the equestrian stuff. I think I actually watched this exact video.
Probably.
Where like the equestrian stuff is like finding trails, doing jumps, collecting power-ups, or collecting pickups that you then use to upgrade your stuff. It's exactly just like it's one 7th gen video game.
Yeah, exactly.
And this PC one in particular, and here's the other thing. When it comes to like the dunking on the console version, the PC version is the superior version. The sequel that came out for consoles runs at like half the frame rate and has about half the functionality. Yeah. Which is a shame because Barbie Horse Adventure Mystery Ride has a lot going on. It even has like little mini puzzle games. Like it has like Bejeweled like style stuff. Yeah. And like little match games. And you're just trying to find clues. Horses get stolen. I noticed a lot of things get stolen in Barbie games.
Yeah, you got to get them back.
I noticed like Barbie games are very much about something was stolen in the night.
Yes.
Whether it's a horse, whether it's a piece of equipment, whether it's Ken. Yeah. A lot of times it's Ken.
Yeah, your princess is in another castle, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's the thing is no matter what job Barbie is doing, detective is always half of it. Yeah. Always. Yeah. There's always a mystery afoot.
She's like Batman. Barbie's just like Batman.
She's just like Batman.
Like sometimes it's not coming up, but she's always a detective.
I just love it because there is a specific Barbie detective series.
Let's look at that, baby. We're not going in order.
No. Okay. Barbie Detective Adventure.
This is 1998. So this is the first one. This is actually not the more popular Barbie detective game. We'll look at that in a moment too.
No, this is the Carnival Caper. This has the craziest function that I have ever seen in a fucking game, especially for 1998.
Software for girls.
In the beginning of this game, Barbie asks you your name. That's not strange. It's a video game.
Sure.
Do you know what's fucking strange?
What?
it has a pre-populated list of names. Look at this shit. Every single name you could ever think of is pre-populated with every single spelling.
Yeah.
Barbica has 4 spellings.
Yeah.
Now, I was like, that's wild. Why is it all pre-populated like this? Do you know why? Because Barbie says your name.
Yeah.
Barbie speaks directly to you in this game once you pick your name. And so they had the woman who is the voice of Barbie, because this is before speech synthesis.
Yeah.
At the level we have it now, this poor woman sat in a room and did I don't know how many VO sessions of just Amanda, Alexis, Alexa, Alexandra. Like,
because it mattered.
And
she did it because it mattered.
And like, it has to be wild. Now, your name is never in games.
No, never.
Was your name in this?
No.
Even in this?
I don't think so.
It had to. It wasn't?
I don't think so, no.
They had 4 Barbicas?
They might have an SAGE in there.
Yeah.
They might have it. I should download this one and give it a go. I spent my whole week on Barbie Super Sports.
Yeah, your name is a very... I mean, your parents almost made up your name the way it's spelled.
Yeah.
There are very few people that have your name. Is there anybody else that has your name the way it's spelled?
There are people.
Yeah.
Not my full name. No.
Yeah.
But there are people that have it. I've only ever interacted with them on the internet. I've never met one in person. Mm-hmm. But if they exist, they've messaged me on Instagram at some point and
That's
been like,
so funny. Hey.
Yeah.
Hey. Shirt brother.
Which is very sweet.
But I am telling you, one of the videos I watched scrolled this list of names and I was flabbergasted, dumbfounded. I simply went,
yeah. I bet my name is more popular now. You're right, because there is an American Girl doll with my name spelled like my name.
Zazo in the live studio audience says it's probably just Saige is in there.
Yeah, probably. The more common.
But this is like, the Barbie Detective is a full-on adventure game.
Yeah.
That has like a very wild control, control scheme.
Yeah.
It has like a drag to the edge of the screen to move, and you can move into the foreground and background. And then if you're not moving, you're basically a magnifying glass, and you can click on anything.
Yeah.
And it's pretty wild.
It's a very thoughtful game in its design.
Anything could be a clue. Anything could be a mini game. There are like shortcuts. Is this a Souls-like, Saige? I ask you if this is a Souls-like because at some point in this video, we're going to go downstairs and we're going to find the magician's downstairs dressing room. And then we'll find a shortcut back up into that sarcophagus. We're going to unlock it.
We're fast traveling, baby.
Is this a Souls-like Barbie game?
I'm just saying, this game is 1998. That's an incredibly impressive game.
It's very like the PC side of it.
Yeah.
I am very, very impressed with. Not Super Sports.
No.
Super Sports looks click and play as hell. But the adventure stuff, I think they did a lot.
Love Super Sports.
And the amount of voice acting that's in every single Barbie game. And I mean, it makes sense because it's for little girls up to, whatever age.
Yeah.
And so it's like, you have to be able to read the interface. You have to be able to look at the interface and understand it without reading.
Yeah.
And so they put a lot of work into it. Whoa. Does Detective Barbie 2 start with a Shining style, like...
Yeah, dude. Now, this is one of the most iconic and beloved Barbie games of all time. Detective, the first game, commonly forgotten for Detective Barbie 2, The Vacation Mystery.
This is the opening to The Shining.
Yeah, it is. So this one's 1999. This one actually came out the same year as Super Sports.
Wow. It's interesting because, like, you can absolutely tell, just like all major franchises from major studios, there's an A game and a B game.
Yep.
Super Sports was clearly the B team game for that year.
Now, looking back, having been a poor kid in the late 90s, it makes sense that we had Super Sports.
Oh, yeah. Super Sports looks like it was $9.99.
Yeah, we didn't have A-tier games.
Super Sports.
Once
there
again.
it is again. Yo, I'm telling you.
Honestly,
Alishan has four spellings.
It's honestly impressive, especially because Barbie was like, so popular within the US that it isn't just like Eurocentric names either. So
there are 4 Unicas, many Udels. This is wild. Was Super Sports like a Happy Meal game? Asked somebody in the audience.
No,
it was a real game.
It was a real game. But like, look at this.
I mean, this is as good as at least the Mansion of Hidden Souls.
Yeah.
On the Saturn.
Yeah.
You know?
And though Barbie has had a difficult time representing disabilities in games and in dolls over the years, there was that long scandal where they had a version of...
I think it's Kimberly.
I think it was Kimberly who was in a wheelchair, but the wheelchair didn't fit through the Barbie Dreamhouse doors.
It didn't fit through the doors.
It was not an accessible Barbie Dreamhouse.
It didn't fit.
So there was that.
They recalled Kimberly, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Because of that.
Yeah.
But this is like, I mean, it's got that same interface. You can see like when you put your magnifying glass over things that are clues, they kind of blink a little bit.
Yeah.
And you can also see like footprints and fingerprints that you couldn't see in the on the screen this is very much a precursor to sort of like the hidden object adventure games that are like really popular today.
Yeah. Also, hey, the Nancy Drew games.
Oh yeah.
This has to make you think of the Nancy Drew games. What year did the Nancy Drew games come out?
Early 2000s. I think the first, like the iPad ones, like the PC iPad ones, I want to say like 2010.
No, we're thinking of classic CD-ROM.
Classic CD-ROM Nancy Drew.
1998. So it came out the same year, actually, as the first Detective Barbie. And that was Secrets Can Kill.
So once you graduate from Barbie Detective Club, Nancy Drew is there waiting for you.
Yeah.
For a little more mystery, and maybe
is one coming out soon.
Some smooching.
Yeah.
Does Nancy Drew smooch in the video games? No?
We're not smooching in these video games. But, I mean, very much its own unique design, and it's funny that they both came out the same year and going in that like detective route for girly games. Very much in its own like art style and design. They're very unique to each other. I love these. But it's also very interesting because we don't make games like this anymore. We're coming back around with these indie developers having the platform of like Steam to distribute these, but like
adventure games like that are, there are very few studios left or teams left that focus on them and have the expertise to do them well.
I'm actually talking specifically about girly games and games marketed to girls.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I wonder what it's like. What is that like on the iPad? Because I would feel like iOS is where that is.
Well, that's what I'm saying. There are mobile games for it and there are indie developers doing it. As somebody who loves a girly game and thrives in a cozy girly game, like, hey, Steam, itch.io, like, we're being absolutely fed by the indie developers, but not by the major studios anymore.
I think there's a major like, you don't see a lot of kids games on major platforms anymore at all.
Yes.
All of that stuff has been moving to mobile as like mobile consoles, which was where like most little kids played their stuff, if not on the PC. Mobile console or handheld consoles are gone, and now everything is like phones and mobile devices. You're seeing like a lot of stuff for all the younger age groups go there.
Yeah.
But I have seen a lot of stuff. You are not the first to point this out to me. I have seen stuff recently where it's just like girl games are just not things as much anymore.
Well, and it's very interesting. I am of the opinion that this girls games genre died with the Nintendo DS. I think it died with the last Game Boy. In that, I think that was the last device that they were really interested in marketing towards us with.
Yeah.
There are cozy things, but like, Animal Crossing, right? Probably you could look at the stats on the player base and be like, clearly there is a large portion of people who identify as women who love this game, right? But Animal Crossing is not a girly game. Animal Crossing is not in this category of girly games or like marketed towards. I think it is a really separate thing. But I watched an interesting like YouTube video essay talking about it and about how there were like essentially like 2 developers developing girly games in the late 90s and early 2000s, and how you had like the Barbie ones and then that kind of just naturally fell off. But that these developers were put in the position where they were like, okay, we've got something. We see the girls want to play games. We want to make games for girls.
Yes.
And then there were like more popping up that were like, okay, all right, I guess we acknowledge that girls exist. We can make games for girls. And they started surveying what girls wanted in games. And then they didn't like the results that they got.
Right.
Because they were like, well, we want to tell girls that they could be on the moon. And girls are like, I would love a horse game.
Yeah. Can we just do more I like the horse one that you made.
Right. There's lots of games about going to the moon. Can you make me a horse game?
Can you make me a horse game? Can you make me like a business management game?
Yeah.
You know?
And then all of these developers were like, that doesn't sound fun to me. I don't want to make that.
But when you think about that and the leading into the cozy genre, and I think about like all of the things that like the cozy genre is known for, where it is about like management, community, customization.
Right.
You know, all of that stuff feels like it's very heavily influenced by girly games. And it might be a bit of it's not the same, but it's an evolution of like, you know what it is? It's an evolution of a chunk of it that is more palatable to everyone.
And here's the thing. All of the above should exist. All of the above should exist. Making games that are not in any way like gender marketed, very important, obviously, absolutely. Acknowledging that games that are marketed towards men are not gender neutral marketing.
Yeah.
That is not the default.
And that's welcoming women into genres and spaces that have traditionally been made for men or male dominated is not the same as making a product for that market.
It's not the same, and it's not enough. It's not. It's absolutely not. Developing with femininity in mind. And now, personally, I, as somebody who also is like has removed myself from the spectrum of gender. So when I talk about like girly games, and this is only for me personally, that's not a gender.
Yeah.
Like, this is my own relationship with gender, which is very personal, but like,
no, but you're right. It is a genre.
It is a genre of game, and it is not a gender of game, and it does not mean that it should be made or played by, or made exclusively for or played by quote unquote girls. I have no concept of what that word means anymore.
Yeah.
I'm real lost in the sauce on gender. So like with that in mind, it is feminine games. It is embracing femininity. It is for the girlies, non-gendered. You know?
I do want to say
anyone can be one of the girlies if you want to be.
Yeah. I want to say like a couple people in the audience are talking about how good a Moon Horse game would be.
Yeah, they were talking about like, can you imagine a horse on the moon?
Can you imagine Moon Horse?
Yeah.
Like Moon Horse, I feel like they left a lot of money on the table with Moon Horse.
Horse management, like a full like stable horse management on the moon. Come on.
And then T. Bierney in the live studio audience is saying that they are an elementary school teacher, and these games simply don't exist for their kids anymore.
No.
The idea of like a lot of those, and it's a connected genre. It's not the same, but those sort of like you just played a bunch of them actually. It's like the Pajama Sam, the Putt Putt Goes to the Moon.
Yeah.
Like that sort of game is also gone now. And I think it has something to do. My gut tells me that it has something to do with the fact that like people who are parents now grew up with video games and are like, you don't need to shove quote unquote education into games to let kids play games. You can let kids play whatever. And so that means more kids are playing more like mainstream marketed games.
Yeah.
And I think those sort of like more educational games have like disappeared because of it. Although once again, I would love to hear from anybody, like if you are a teacher,
parents.
if you are a parent, my gut tells me there's a lot of stuff on iOS. You know?
I agree. But I see the things that like my niece and nephew play on iOS, and they are not educational.
No.
They're definitely not educational.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, I don't think parents care as much.
Yeah, I think there are things that you can gain from video games that are educational that are not an educational video game. Like you can learn skills through video games that are not actually intentionally educational.
Yeah.
So
like I could fly a plane.
Yeah.
Like I could probably fly a plane.
Yeah.
I saw, and there's a movie coming out about
crush a candy.
Yeah, I crush so much candy. There's a movie coming out about a kid who played a video game and now can race the best because he's that video game. We're not going to tell you what that movie is because fuck you, studios.
Jafrika said, "Hi, are you a parent? Do you care? We're just wondering, parents, do you care?
Do you fucking care?"
That's also maybe at my parents. I was just wondering, do you care?
There's also, I wonder if there's as much stuff like the create your own stickers and things like that, like the print your own stuff. I wonder if there's as much of that anymore.
No, but there is a great new sticker making indie game coming out. It's you run a sticker shop and it's like the shop management, but also designing the stickers.
That. Yeah.
That looks very, very fun. I want to be able to print them real bad.
I
really do.
Shit.
But when we talk about these like, you know, feminine marketed games, and I think back and I picture, I was not like a quote unquote girly child. I really wasn't. And I look back as to why, and I look back as to my earliest like memories and things that I enjoyed, the toys that I loved, the things that I enjoyed, and then when external influence affected that. So like when it transitioned from I love this Barbie game to I feel an obligation to love other things in order to be embraced and accepted, and how much of my childhood I spent disavowing femininity, and how impactful it would be if we had just continued letting femininity be in the hobbies we liked.
Yeah.
Not having to disavow femininity to enjoy video games, you know, when I was thinking like I was picturing on my console games, you know?
And the particular thing about that 2001 to 2003 period that we're talking about, this horse adventure period, is we were in the PS2 to PS3 era there.
Yeah.
And that was when it was like, why are these video games? That was also the time when we started refuting Japanese design of video games, where it's like, why is this cute? Why is this colorful? Why is this like? We started making more of the shoot man games.
Yes, we did.
And I remember playing, you know, being a Sega Saturn guy in a PlayStation world.
Yeah.
People were always looking at Sega Saturn games and going like, what is this weird, like colorful, like baby crap?
Yeah.
Like, what is going on here? Like, I would show people Nights into Dreams and they'd be like, yeah, all right.
Things seen as feminine were also seen to be infantilized and lesser than.
Zazo says, why Kirby when gun? Why Kirby when gun?
We're all wondering. We did have an actual parent in Rogue One apologist said, parent here, I don't force educational games. Many and most games help with problem solving logic.
That's true.
It's like, man, I'm trying so hard. I'm trying so hard not to impose any of my hobbies on my niece and nephew.
Yeah.
I want them to play D&D so
though.
bad. I want them to play D&D so fucking bad. I have bought them starter kits. I have bought them dice. I have bought them toys.
Her niece mentioned anime once unprompted. The first time it happened, Saige went,
yeah.
Saige went, yes.
Yeah,
Saige was like, I didn't do that.
She had a manga Christmas. I got to bring her a stack of manga for Christmas. It was fucking awesome. It was really, really great.
It was all Junji Ito, and now she's not allowed to read any manga anymore forever.
I got to bring her a bunch of Sailor Moon manga.
Oh, that's so cute.
A bunch of My Hero Academia.
That's lovely.
We started in a lovely place. This year,
cameras, baby.
She wants a camera.
Cameras, baby.
We're there. But I really wish we could go back to the D&D thing. I would like to circle back on that.
Sure.
I would like to circle back on the D&D thing. I genuinely just think that games like Dungeons and Dragons are so helpful for like development. Like I think it is one of the coolest things that we can do for kids. And like I've spent time volunteering to like run and play games with kids at local game stores.
Yeah.
Me and some of the girls who play the princesses used to go in and play.
Yeah.
And it's like they had tables for different age groups and like watching the kids be so creative, watching the kids problem solve.
It's problem solving. It's improvising. It's collaborating. It's working together. It's working your imagination. It's a really lovely thing. I'm always bummed that I grew up in a community that didn't have more of it. I think the closest I was able to get people to do is a couple times I was able to get my friends to play Hero Quest.
Yeah.
I was able to do it. Hero Quest is back, by the way. It's back, baby.
Yeah.
But Hero Quest was baby D&D.
Yeah.
It had like a game board
Yeah.
and like little miniatures, and it came with like pre-designed, like set up your map like this. And like you had character sheets, and it was like super simple, and you could get people to do it. But then D&D, I remember it was hard because people were just like, there's no board, there's no rules, there's no, what is this?
Yeah.
What is it?
Indrani said, I've been talking to a few schools here in India about running TTRPGs as part of their extracurricular education. For those who don't know Indrani's been doing amazing work on bringing Dungeons and Dragons and tabletop role-playing games to India in general. And I think that that's really, really cool. And I love hearing you speak about it. I think that's really wonderful. Said, once teachers understand what it is, they're always down. Absolutely. Completely agree. And we see a lot of that. There's like a teacher who went viral on TikTok here for doing something of the sort.
Do other countries have the fundamentalist religious problems with D&D
that
we do? Because in the 80s and early 90s, we had like the big D&D scare. We had the Satanic Panic.
There's a lot of,
and there's stuff now.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff now, and there's a lot of speculation that people are considering this kind of like a second wave Satanic Panic that's been happening for the last like year or so due to right-wing extremism in America.
Yeah, that
is creating this like lack of separation from church and state, and this like Christo-fascism that would allow for another.
It's
Satanic
something
Panic.
we think of as like when people go Satanic Panic. It's something that's thought of as like 70s, 80s, but like I remember being in high school and like the local news trying to interview people who played Dungeons and Dragons, trying to find them because they wanted that story about like the Satan kids who are doing the bad stuff. Like I used to work in a video game store, and whenever news wanted to interview one of us as an employee of a video game store, we were like, fuck off.
Yeah.
We were like, get out of here. You are not welcome here.
Yeah.
Because we knew that they were going to try to connect it to violence. They were going to try to connect it to like horrible behaviors.
Absolutely.
And listen, I do believe that all violent, thoughtless media desensitizes people to acts of violence. I do believe that. I wasn't going to fucking say that for the news to fucking manipulate.
Nope.
Absolutely not.
No. But hey, you know what never made me desensitized to violence?
When Barbie would like tear people apart.
When Barbie would do a sick jump off of an octopus skate ramp. Just saying. That's all I'm saying.
That's all. Listen, everybody wins.
Yeah.
Barbie, octopuses,
me,
skaters,
Saiges. There's so many great comments in here about all of it. Old man Jane said not really in Finland about the fundamental religious pushback on Dungeons and Dragons.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I live in Scandinavia. Oh, it's me, Jan. I live in a perfect society. I'm gonna go take a sauna later, and then maybe I'm gonna have a perfect espresso and not worry about my social safety net. Of course you love D&D over there.
On the other side, Rachel Isabel said, I'm embracing Satan these days.
Sure.
I love that for
As you should and can.
Yeah. Dreadful Ghoul said, didn't Riverdale basically do a season about D&D
Griffins
being satanic?
and Gargoyles!
Griffins and Gargoyles!
Best season of television ever made! Do I mean it? I don't know.
Truly the season that Riverdale just absolutely lost the plot. I think that's really when Riverdale just completely lost the plot.
Wait, y'all don't do espresso? Y'all don't do that? That's wild.
But yeah, the Satanic Panic did peak technically in the 80s, but like it's never gone away.
Sweden does espresso real good.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
They had a plot. They did have a plot. Riverdale season 1 had a plot.
Every episode has a plot. It may not have anything to do with the plot of the previous or next episode.
Yes.
But they all have plot. What you got to do with Riverdale, and we can talk about Riverdale because Riverdale's wrapped. Riverdale is wrapped and canceled. What you got to do with Riverdale is watch every episode and pretend you're coming in during the second act of a movie. Every time. Doesn't matter if you watch the previous week's episode.
Yeah.
Come in pretending like you just missed the first act of a movie.
Yeah.
And then you're going to have so much fun watching Riverdale. So out of all the Barbie games, was the Super Sports your big one?
The Super Sports was my big one personally. I don't think it is the best Barbie game of all time. I'm giving it to Detective Barbie personally.
Detective Barbie is very in-depth.
I'm giving it to Detective Barbie. I have to. It's incredibly in-depth. It's an incredibly well-made game for the time being. And as much nostalgia as I have personally for it, Super Sports, it's not the best. I would say Horse Adventures, obviously iconic and classic. There's also Barbie, what's the fashion one? The first dress up.
Oh.
fashion designer.
Barbie fashion designer.
I also feel like we have to acknowledge Barbie fashion designer, which I think was technically...
Now
it was the first CD-ROM game for Barbie. It was 1996.
And that one's more of a mix and match, like paper doll design your own Barbie sort of thing, right?
Yeah. So Barbie fashion designer is just a dress-up game.
God, now this is a genre of game where like the clicking and dragging of clip art.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God! On the boy game side, it was the stuff like the Spider-Man make your own comic, or like X-Men make your own cartoon.
Yeah,
and it would be like some art from Marvel, right? And then in addition to some art from Marvel, it would just be like various public domain clip art.
Yeah,
like there was just like a Jeep I remember in the X-Men one, and it's just like you could just put a Jeep, and it didn't even look like it was drawn by the same artist. It had like that swooshy clip art style.
Yeah.
And it's like, I guess Wolverine's getting in this Jeep? The X Jeep? What is going on?
What do you mean just a dress-up game? I mean, an iconic dress-up game. You could change the colors of things. It was giving, for all the kids who loved playing in Microsoft Paint, but on Barbie.
That's cool that you get like a pseudo 3D version of it at the end.
Again, 1996, babies. I had just been born.
I was just borned into Barbie.
I had just been borned.
I want to show the difference between Wild Horse Rescue and the PC CD-ROM Barbie Horse Adventures, because like I'm gonna tell you what, the Wild Horse Rescue is.
So this is 2003, and this is the PS2 release of it. I've got it.
Yeah, if you just skip ahead, you'll see it's like 15 frames a second. It is not as good as the PC one. Actually, this part of it doesn't look too bad. It's when you get into the open world, like, riding.
Look at the perfectly squared off hay bales.
I love it. Hey, can I tell you something? Zelda was doing the same shit.
Yep.
Zelda was doing the same shit at the time.
I don't think this looks that bad.
That actually doesn't look as bad as it did. Some of it, like some parts of it chugged, but it's not as good as the PC one.
Yeah.
But it's running pretty good. Folks, this is a good video game.
Folks, they did a good job.
Folks, this is a solid video game. You're riding a horse through a maze, looking for all the pickups.
Yeah.
This is fine. It's a perfectly fine video game. Folks.
That's too low of a review. It's an excellent video game, and it's an important video game. And I want to see a revival of this genre, you know, when we're making like Barbie games again. But I think that there is a level of people don't want to make things that they feel are frivolous. They think boys get to do things that are frivolous to boys, right? And again, all of this is non-gendered. This is about marketing to little boy as like a
We're talking about blue. We're talking about the blue and pink industry.
Right. They don't consider the things that little boys like to be frivolous. They don't think about it. If they like it, they get to have it. They don't care if it's fucking bugs. They don't care if it's whatever. All of these things that we're, you know, like.
If that kid wants to fuck bugs.
Okay, no, hold on. I knew you were going to do this. I knew you were going to do this. Yeah. Also, it's very loud. They can hear it. We just can't.
Yeah.
I will fix that. Now we can. Anyways. But with that in mind, when it came to little girls, they were like, well, if we're going to get little girls into games, we got to do something that like matters. We got to tell little girls that they can be astronauts, that they could put horses on the moon. And they're like,
and listen,
you can.
You can.
Yeah.
And somebody will be the first person to put a horse on the moon, and that will be very dangerous and inappropriate for the horse.
Yeah.
That will not be healthy. The horse will not understand.
The horse cannot conceptualize space.
No. You ever try to get a horse into a pressurized suit?
Look, you can lead the horse to the moon, but you can't make him live.
You can lead a horse to the moon, and you can also moon a horse.
You shouldn't.
You shouldn't.
I think that might be illegal.
You shouldn't
probably
do
get
it.
Put on a list.
Don't do that.
Don't moon a horse.
Somebody said that Barbie horse adventure probably looks as good as the Zelda at the time. I will say in 2001, well, what was that? It was 2003. We're talking about Twilight Princess. I don't know if I would put it up against Twilight Princess, and that's not a slight to Barbie Horse Adventure. I would not put many games up against Twilight Princess of the time. This is cool. You got to lead like the little foals back.
Yeah.
And there's also, talking about Twilight Princess though, there are lost goats, and you got to herd them, just like Twilight Princess. Hey.
Yeah.
That's just like Twilight Princess.
Yeah. Trying to find one that's not on like a full HD remaster.
Oh, everybody
of it.
loves the HD remaster. That GameCube.
Yeah, let's do.
Put GameCube in there. That'll do it.
Because I don't be watching the remaster.
The footprints in the snow. Yeah, there are details in this Barbie game. I'm telling you, it was made with renderware.
Hey, man.
That's AAA. Here's what I'll tell you.
It doesn't look that much better.
Does Nintendo have better texture artists?
Yes.
100%. 100%.
It doesn't look that much better. I stand by. Doesn't look that much better. One of the best looking games of the time. Nobody's going to deny.
Sydney Roberson says, forget Twilight Princess. Give me that Twilight baseball game.
There we go.
I would like a Twilight baseball game. I would like to play an entire season, and you can like trade vampires.
Yeah.
Be very good. Zealous says Link looks better, the world does not. Now, here's the thing here's the trick about Barbie games, and this is why I think the Barbie games also got unfairly maligned in the graphics department. The Barbie games tried to make Barbie look like a doll.
Yes.
And even in the cutscenes, Barbie looks like a doll.
Yeah.
And when you're trying to recreate a Barbie doll in motion, it obviously looks more simplistic than some of the character animations at the time, but it's because it's supposed to look like a doll.
Yeah.
They didn't want to embellish the look of Barbie.
No. She's supposed to look like a doll. Can I be honest with you all?
No. Let us down easy.
Your father and I love each other very much. I haven't actually seen the Twilight movies.
I mean, look.
Or Lord of the Rings, to be clear, but...
As a cultural artifact, I feel like you should watch them. I think you know what you're getting into.
I want to watch them.
Yeah. I think you should watch them. I don't think I've watched the last one. I've only seen scenes of the last one. I've seen the creepy baby.
I've seen all of the scenes.
Yeah.
I've seen all of the scenes. But here's the thing.
It has that color correction.
Uh-huh.
Do you know what I mean? It has that early 2000s color correction where it's just like, now that sort of thing is like a one-click filter in like iMovie that looks really bad. It's just like everything's orange and purple now.
Friend of the channel, Lexi, Black Girl Mage, next time they're in town has promised to sit down and watch all of the Twilight movies with me. As many people have also promised to sit down and watch all of the Lord of the Rings movies with me, but that's a big commitment.
I'll do it, but I'll fall asleep, and that's fine.
I honestly, here's the thing. I'm a little sad I didn't get to participate in the Twilight thing at the time. I was so the target age demographic for Twilight.
Yeah.
Like, what year did Twilight come out?
2022.
It came out in 2008.
Yeah.
Okay? I was born in 1995. I was totally target demographic to grow up with the Twilight movies and have them be slightly inappropriate for me in a way that I found very cool.
Yeah.
Everybody my age loved the Twilight movies. But it was that thing where in order to be embraced into the hobbies I had interest in, I had to disavow things that girls liked. I had to not be like other girls.
Right.
I had to hate One Direction.
No, you had to be like a cool girl. You had to be
not like other girls. A cool girl.
Yeah, you had to be a bit of a pick-me.
100%. I was an absolute pick-me. And it was just a matter of like, oh, well, my friends won't keep playing Magic the Gathering with me if I don't also shit on Twilight, you know? And things like that, right? Whoa, wild question. Cassidy Weaver just said, has anyone seen Titanic 2? I watched Titanic 2 like 2 weeks ago. Unhinged, bananas movie. I also watched the third Titanic movie, all unrelated, but somehow canonize each other because they do acknowledge it's the third one, Titanic 666, which was a Tubi original.
A Tubi original?
Yep.
Mm.
This one's Ghosts.
Probably had those good residuals on that.
Yeah, there's a Titanic 2. It's not James Cameron.
No.
Again, these are all very, very completed works, so we can talk about them.
Yeah.
They are very in the past.
Yeah, we don't need to worry about that.
But wild times. I also...
Yes.
It's a past work, so I feel comfortable talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I stumbled upon last night, Anthony?
What's that?
There is a docuseries, quote unquote, called SpongeBob DocuPants, where they made a bunch of Hollywood, like true Hollywood story style interviews about SpongeBob episodes.
How did you not know this?
You knew this existed?
No, but how did you not know?
Because I was just looking up to watch SpongeBob. I bought the SpongeBob board game.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, oh, we'll put some SpongeBob on. That'll be fun.
Oh, your SpongeBob board game came?
Yeah.
How is it?
It's so good.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. But they do it in this way that is like, oh shit, I can't show it on the stream because I'm technically watching it on the Prime player.
Right.
But they do it where they have people sitting down and being like about SpongeBob's rise to fame as a fry cook as if he's a real person.
I love that. That's fun.
It's wild. I don't know. Anybody who, we're just talking a lot to my age demographic right now with the Barbie games. Anybody who also grew up in the Barbie games probably also grew up on SpongeBob. It's fucking bananas. It's absolutely wild. They did one, they shot like a crime documentary about like crimes that SpongeBob committed.
I love it. I love it. That's such a good idea.
They committed to the bit so fucking hard.
That's fun.
Really good.
Yeah, I like that.
Anyways, that one's just, another one for the mid-90s girlies, ungendered.
Oh.
There's a couple of other pieces of like random news, I guess.
Yeah, we want to talk about a couple things, I suppose, before we end. But hey, remember that this doesn't just end today. This doesn't end today.
No.
You're in the middle of... Barbie Media, we're comfortable promoting week.
So Wednesday, we're going to be deep diving into all of the various characters of the Barbie universe, characters that have been brought in, canonized, decanonized by mostly dolls.
So they got some wild dolls.
We're going to get into it. We're going to get into the wild history of Barbie characters and her having like 18 sisters.
Yeah. Yeah. Boy. They just give her a new sister every time one of them goes down in whatever the doll ratings are, don't they?
Yeah, 100%.
Like just whatever there's. Anyway, we got a lot more Barbie coming this week. We want to talk a little bit about what's going on in the world right now, and I do want to touch a little bit more on this strike.
Yeah, let's keep talking it.
First of all, as you know, as you probably know, because you're keeping up with the strike or because you watch us keep up with the strike, actors cannot promote their work right now.
Yep.
Actors and writers are not promoting their work. They are not crossing picket lines to help the studio make money on their work. That's just not what they do. And people were wondering what they're going to do with these big movie premieres, especially now that word is traveling among influencers and social media celebrities that it's like, hey, if you cross the picket line, people are gonna like kind of look at you funny. People are not gonna like it. Yeah. So people like even influencers are backing up. So what do you do on the red carpet? What do? You call in the non-union theme park actors to come as their theme park characters.
Yeah.
So that's Cruella de Vil on the red carpet for the Haunted Mansion movie. We've got Haunted Mickey and Minnie on the red carpet for the Haunted Mansion movie.
I wasn't supposed to do that again, but here it is.
No, but it feels accurate.
It does still feel right.
It feels appropriate.
Yeah.
And if this looks like kind of sad and weird and pathetic and like desperate to you,
yeah,
it is and good.
Yeah.
It is and good. Because another thing popped into the news that really I feel like people need to hear more of. We mentioned it a little bit. There are 160,000 people in SAG-AFTRA. The minimum amount of money you need to make as an actor to get health benefits through SAG-AFTRA is $27,000. And 87% of working actors cannot make that much money. And it's not just actors that you're thinking of where it's like they had one line in one show. Deadline and Variety just reported on the cast of
Orange is the New Black.
Orange is the New Black and a bunch of other Netflix shows, but they focused on Orange is the New Black because it was one of the biggest streaming originals of all time and Netflix's first huge hit.
Yeah.
And they were talking to some of the actors from it. One of them, Diane Guerrero, who played Maritza, she was talking about like she was working on Orange is the New Black. She was a few seasons in, still working at a bar to pay bills.
Yep.
And people would come in and recognize her and be like, "Oh my God, we love Orange is the New Black. Also, why are you working here?"
Yep.
And she'd be like, "I don't know why I'm working here either. I work 16-hour days on this show."
Yeah. Kimiko Glenn was also one of the people who was speaking about it, who played Brooke Soso on the show.
Kimiko Glenn, also Penny Parker, you may recognize from Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
She's in a lot of stuff.
She came in a little later in the series and was showing what her residual checks looked like in general. You know what? I could bring in a bunch of my penny residual checks.
I've seen your penny checks.
I get penny residual checks all the fucking time. It costs them more to mail it to me than I make on these residuals most of the time.
Kimiko Glenn, actually, she shared it on her Instagram. She showed it off. She's like, "I'm rich, baby. I'm about to be so rich." Here it is. I think
look at how many things that is.
This is all the episodes airing in different markets. That's her check. $27.30.
Yeah. Can actors not get direct deposit? They integrated that way later, and SAG's really bad at it.
But what Kimiko was showing off was she has direct deposit, but it was her statement. The other thing is they won't do direct deposit for anything under a certain amount of money because it's not worth it for them, I think.
No, I think you can get all of your residuals direct deposited, but they're just like bad at it.
Okay.
It's like, look, okay, here's what
I know
say.
a lot of jobs, like they will not do direct deposit unless you make like under a certain or over a certain amount of money because they're just like, it costs too much.
Yeah. Look, super pro union. The SAG union is a mess.
It's a mess.
The SAG union is a mess.
The union itself needs to be better, but that's a fight for after this fight.
That's a fight for after this fight.
Kimiko Glenn said that the show did not pay for her transportation unless her call time was before 6 a.m. So she had to get her own taxis and subways to get to the studio, which she said would have been fine if those didn't take up the majority of her paycheck.
Yep.
Which is like, we've all worked jobs like that where it's like, I'm running late for work, so I have to take like an Uber to work.
Yeah.
And it's going to be all the money I would have made this shift.
Correct.
And that's happening on television. Genji Cohen and Tara Herman, who were the EP and co-creators of the show, were brought into a conference room with Netflix after season 1, and they were shown the numbers. They were shown that 100 million people had seen at least one episode, and at least half of those had completed all 6 seasons.
Yeah.
The numbers were huge, like nothing you would have ever seen on network television.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Orange is the New Black changed streaming.
And they were like, we made nothing. They were like, we made like 100th of what we would have made making a season of cable TV.
Yep.
And they just took it from us. They just took it. So that's what's going on right now, and that's why people are striking.
Yeah. We're also, we're seeing different little unions start to whisper, about getting in on the strike times. General labor strike?
General labor strike? Hey.
Can I interest you in a general labor strike?
General labor strike tonight, Queen? Strike tonight, Queen? General labor strike, Queen?
People have been trying to organize this for a very, very long time. And there have been charges led by individuals that like have completely been ignored to try and organize, because a general labor strike is legitimately what America needs. There is no solution. We can do this one union at a time, and we can fight for these individual rights that will be out of date in a few years. Realistically, we're fighting for the bare minimum, which is always less than already these people deserve. But at the end of the day, we are not making legitimate progress until we do withhold all labor.
Maybe, Saige, we need to take a look at we need to take a look at and model our movement off of what's going on in the ocean right now. Saige, we know that the orcas are already on strike. Not only are they on strike,
they're striking.
They are striking. They are striking boats. They are striking people.
They will strike you.
They believe in transformative violence.
Yeah.
And now dolphins are getting in on it. Dolphins are now beginning to ram and bite beachgoers and ships off the coast of Japan. Now, if you remember, in Japan, their fishing laws are more lax than a lot of other parts of the world. If you catch a dolphin in your net in Japan, that's cool.
Whoa.
Like, it's fine. Maybe you want to eat a dolphin. That's fine. It don't matter. You want to hunt a whale? You want to hunt a dolphin? You can do it in Japan. And we are seeing a lot of these animals that are extremely smart animals just being like, all right, that's where the danger comes from.
I find dolphins terrifying.
You should find dolphins terrifying.
I don't like them. They scare me.
They are aggressive in all forms of the word.
Don't like it. Makes me uncomfortable. I think they're the kangaroos of the ocean.
They really are.
I don't fucking like it.
They really
are.
One
bit. I also wanted to point out, Sufasan said, I'm from Winnipeg, Canada. The Winnipeg general strike changed labor as we know it, and I am down for another one. Why can we as Americans not organize like that?
Because the majority of Americans see this labor strike stuff, and they have been programmed over the last generation and a half by media, by propaganda, by all this stuff to just be like, those people are lazy. And it's not just the last generation and a half. That's built into the fabric of America.
Yeah, there was actually, there was a bunch of videos going around where it was like the concept of like, why is this generation so lazy? Or this next generation doesn't want to work. And it showed it like all the way back in newspapers to like the 20s.
Oh yeah. The only time, really genuinely, the only time we made a huge move away from what is called in most cases the American Protestant work ethic, is in the 60s and the 70s when we really started implementing strong labor unions.
Yep.
And then in the 80s, it began the rollback of union protections and the depowering of the unions. And that's when we have seen this huge, super capitalist motion that has put us not just back to where we were previously, but far beyond where we were in terms of worker inequality and income inequality.
It's the thing I keep saying. There is the statistic going around everywhere. It was something that was dove into on my favorite podcast. But in the 1970s, your CEO of the company that you worked for any of the top 500 corporations in America, on average, made about 20 times your median salary. Now, the average CEO in those 500 companies makes 650 times that salary.
Yep.
Since the 70s.
And there's a lot of this stuff of like, well, they work their way up, they run these businesses, they make the major decisions, of course they make this much money. If they weren't worth it, they wouldn't get paid it. Bullshit. They have slowly convinced us that they are worth it. And if CEO is such a hard job, how can people be the CEO of 5 companies at once?
How interesting.
It's that hard a job, huh? Think about that. If you're checking in on 5 companies at once, 5 companies, even if you work a 12-hour workday, you're checking in for 2 hours?
Yeah.
What are you doing in 2 hours for an entire company?
So, here's an example. I'm the CEO of this company.
Okay, a bit of a humble brag.
And
believe me, I am protesting against her every day.
Every day. I could not do 2.
No. How could you?
I can barely do 1.
How could you?
I could barely do 1 because I actually work within the business that I own. And that's the difference between, the separation of the bourgeoisie, which is to own and not work within the things you own. That can also apply to property, your private property. I own a house and I don't live in it. I just rent it out.
Right.
I own a business and I don't work in it. I just employ people to run it for me.
Now, you have said that your dream is to run 72 companies at once.
I have said that I would like to be the CEO of 72 companies and work in none of them.
Yeah.
I have been saying
and you
that
feel like
dream.
that's, and you've said that you feel like that's super fair and good.
Yeah, and I figured if I pay everyone else minimum wage, then money. For me. I'd like to be clear, I don't take a salary from this business.
No.
I'm just going to be real transparent about how this company works. I do not pay myself. Kaylee and I pay ourselves as performers the same rates as everyone else makes when we perform, and the rest of it we do for freezies. So, in case you were wondering.
I agree.
Adam Conover's TikTok from Picket Lines has been great. Hey. Very cool.
Yeah, it's been very interesting watching Adam Conover. It's been very interesting watching like a lot of the like really good, well-informed stuff from the picket lines.
Yeah.
One thing that workers do have now that they did not have previously in these major strikes that are happening. And this is the first major labor strike within this industry and within a lot of industries where we do have the internet.
Yes.
And information can travel instantaneously.
Yep.
I want to say that the last actor strike was like the 80s.
It was in the 80s.
It was in the 80s.
Yep.
And so like the organization, the ability to stop misinformation, the ability to let the average person know what it was about. Remember, when you're fighting against a studio and you don't have social media, the media companies are reporting on the strike.
Yeah.
And they're like, boo-hoo actors made so mean to us.
Yep.
Now people are getting to hear what's actually happening, which is lovely.
So with that, I will say, hey, listen to the people affected with any issue. Allyship is not making assumptions and guessing. A lot of people out here like, well, I canceled my streaming service.
Don't do
You have
that.
to listen to the unions directly. Be careful about your sources. Be careful about misinformation. Doing things that the union themselves is asking for. The union is not like a shy and nervous person who's not going to ask you for what they want. They're not like, well, secretly, I did kind of want you to do that, but I wouldn't ask. Like, no, the union's going to tell you what they want. The union is not shy.
Yeah, the SAG union is literally it's the most well and outspoken people in the world.
We're very loud people. That's why we ended up here.
But yeah, do not boycott. We want, when the actors go back to work and they negotiate those better deals, we want their residuals to come in for them. And we want these studios to know that you enjoy these people's work.
Yep.
Yeah, and support the strike and don't antagonize people who you feel like are not supporting the strike the right way. Just support the strike yourself.
Just support the strike. Hey, again, if you're feeling a fire in your heart and you want to harass somebody, harass the studios, not the individuals. Solo Darling said last strike was 2008. That was the writer's strike. I remember I was a working actor at the time of the last writer's strike, and it was effective. It was necessary.
Yep. Yeah, writer's strike. This is not the first one in recent memory, but actor strikes are a bit more rare.
The 80s.
Yeah, and the one before that I think was like the 50s or 60s where they first formed it, I believe. This is huge.
Technically, there was a mini SAG strike when there was the negotiations for the SAG-AFTRA merger. I remember that happening as well. But there hasn't been a strike against the studios since the mid 80s.
But then SAG-AFTRA kissed, and it was hot.
Zella said that face when you piss off the people smart enough to write and the people charismatic enough to carry their message.
Oh, there's nothing that the writers love more than the fact that the actors are on the line right now.
Yeah.
Just you see writers just going like, and then the actors are just like, here comes a TikTok.
We got this, bitches.
So this is it's a big important time. Remember that also we're on the cusp of the UPS driver strike. I believe that happens next week.
Yeah.
Animation Guild is coming up soon, and VFX houses are taking steps towards unionizing during these other strikes, and that would be a huge one. That would change the face of motion pictures forever.
Yeah,
it would be so wonderful and important for the VFX shops to unionize. They are some of the most poorly treated and paid in the industry, and they are doing the most work.
Yeah, they are.
It's a huge deal. You know what else is a huge deal? Everybody who comes here every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday and supports us during the show.
Yeah, hey, we own our means of production. That's pretty cool. Thank you for making that possible. We literally couldn't do that without you. Thank you for contributing. Thank you for being here. Thank you for just spending your mornings with us. Of course, we do the show every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific. If it's not 9 a.m. when we start, that's not on us. You should get your clock fixed. It was 9 a.m. when we started today.
Mm-hmm. Look it up. Read a book.
Yeah. You can do a bunch of things to support the show also completely for free. Showing up and watching is number one. You can join the Discord. We had a lot of new BBs join the Discord this week.
That's right. I've also seen a lot of first-time chatters here this morning. Thank you so much. We appreciate you joining.
It's nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Glad you're here.
Come after the show. Come hang out in the Discord.
It's a good place.
It's a good place.
It's a good spot. Look, here's what I will say, and genuine, like a little flex on our community. Because we're so loud and annoying, we got a real curated, excellent community that is just as loud and annoying as we are. I never have to worry about giving an opinion on this channel. I love the BBs.
That's right. That's right. You're all wonderful, wonderful people, and we appreciate you. And we do appreciate when you support the show in other ways as well. We love it when you share on social media about the show. Tell a friend. We love it when you subscribe, when you follow us here, when you subscribe on the YouTube. We're going hard on YouTube, and we could use your help.
Yeah, that's very cool of you. You guys have made it so we could go very hard on the YouTube, and YouTube is finally emailing me about the problem that we can't monetize on YouTube, and it's going to be fixed very soon. But our YouTube audience has more than doubled recently, and that's all probably because of you.
That's right.
You personally.
So thank you very much. That's all extremely, extremely helpful. We do want to thank the people that help us out monetarily throughout the show. We're going to do that in just a moment. But first of all, Saige, where are you at?
You can find me everywhere on the internet at Not Saige. I stream on my channel Monday, Wednesday, and Saturdays. So I'll be live on my channel tonight. How about you, Anthony?
You can find me everywhere on the internet at Carboni, except for here on Twitch, where I'm at Anthony Carboni, and on my science comedy podcast at wehaveconcerns.com.